Good job, Jack.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for thy many blessings and the chance to be here tonight. Please bless and grant wisdom to the court tonight, that they'll be able to make wise decisions that will be able to help our county. Again, we thank you for thy many blessings and the great weather we've had. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We want to welcome all of you guys. I hope you guys can all have lunch with us tomorrow at the church across the street at noon. You're all invited. We have lots of food, lots of good food.
Now call the meeting to order. If you got a cell phone, please turn it off. If you wish to speak during the 3 minutes, please raise your hand and be notified and recognized. Ms. Doss, would you do the roll call, please?
I will be happy to. J.P. Deaton.
Here.
J.P. Olson.
Here.
J.P. Farrell.
Here.
J.P. Johnson.
Here.
J.P. Phillips.
Here.
J.P. Hicks.
Here.
J.P. Mack.
Here.
J.P. McNeely.
Here.
J.P. Hall.
Here.
J.P. Swofford.
Here.
And J.P. Howerton.
Here.
Thank you.
Copy on the full house. Next item of business is disposition of the previous journal. Any addition or correction? If not, I'd entertain a motion to.
So moved.
John so moved.
I'm sorry, could you guys tell me who and who?
John and Matt.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, are there any changes to the agenda? So we move on to public comments. Public, if you have something to say, raise your hand. You have 3 minutes to express your feelings. Yes, we have. Next is miscellaneous. Chuck, would you want to introduce your speaker?
Yes, sir. Kyle, can you come forward, please? Kyle Barnes, the city inspector for the city of Berryville. In a situation last week, we discovered a couple of electrical discrepancies in the clerk's office, so we'd like to elaborate on that and talk to you about maybe doing something further.
For all you don't know, Carl Barnes, I've been in the city for 24 years as building inspector and everything. Chad Wilson called me up the other day to look at some stuff. He was looking at giving a bid for Connie to do some remodeling stuff in her office and everything. When we was in there, this is one of the things I found. Comes straight out of the panel box, screwed to the wall, and they're running a copier and a shredder, I think, from it and everything. When we got to looking into the panel box, they had one panel box. Both panel boxes were covered up with sills, so it was not accessible and everything. When we got to looking in the panel box, one had been disconnected, pulled the wires out of the lugs, and it was just sticking out, still live. 240 bolts sticking out in the box. Anybody could open the door and got into it, real simple. I talked to the judge there. We had the electrician that was there scheduled a day, and he come in, I think on the last holiday we had, he come in Monday and fixed that real quick, disconnected it. We got it back, hooked back up. I don't know if he disconnected the box in the panel, in the main panel down the stairs. That was the plan, but a lot of this little stuff like this is all over here. We've got cords, extension cord, lightweight cords and everything. What I'm asking the Quorum Court is if they'll let the electrician come in. He said he don't think it'll take him 3 days, but he's figuring about $500 come in here, the whole courthouse, go through, find all his stuff, make a list. If it's a very big hazard, disconnect it or fix it as quick as possible. Then once he gets a list of everything that needs fixed, he would like to, he will give a bid. If you want to take competitive bids or something like that to come in and do it, then you can do that. But this is a very big fire hazard, and there's other stuff that I've seen around, overloaded plugs, strips on strips, same problem we have in schools and everything, because everybody needs stuff. Also, what he'd like to do is, while he's doing this, is do some suggestions of what you need to add, or if you need to add some more plug-ins or something like that, pour a desk or something like that. Do some grounding, because a lot of this building is not grounded. Without the ground, you could have issues if you have electrical short and everything. But that, the panel box there that we found, there's no breakers in it. And what it was listed for was sidewalk melting. And I'd say that was back when the electric was here or something. I'm not sure. But all the breakers are out. Like I said, the wires was out, fairly exposed and everything. He did fix that. I think Sam told me it took $200, which was a quick fix and a simple fix. But a lot of this stuff we need to get. I don't want to have a fire here. Don't want to be called out in the middle of the day or at night anywhere. But that's what I'm here to ask Quorum Court, to give Mr. Dale Sparks the okay to come in, work with everybody in their offices, when he can come in there, look, and when he can shut some stuff off, and make sure that everything's safe.
Sure.
Judge, I believe that is your decision, not the Quorum Court's decision. I may go on that, whether or not you allow the inspector to come in here and do that. So he's asking you for your permission.
Well, if you don't give me the money, I'll give you permission. Yeah?
Does the fire department come through and inspect these buildings?
No, not without request. We don't do a yearly inspection on stuff like that without request. Some buildings we do, some state buildings and stuff like that, we do a yearly inspection, look for stuff like this and everything, and go through, make sure exit lights are up, stuff like that are working. But that's just on a request basis. We don't do it automatically.
You don't do it even though it's a public entity or coming in and out of?
Not without a request.
Cody?
I say, we do that.
Do I?
Make a request to do that once a year.
We can.
We can get on the schedule once we get some of this stuff fixed, and then we can get with the judge and we can get a schedule and we'll come in and stuff. A lot of times, if it's a full fire department, what we'll do is come in and we'll schedule, like in the evening on our drill or a Sunday or something, get somebody that can let us in, we'll come through and go through and check all the stuff. After a time or two, you shouldn't have the problems once we get a lot of this little stuff fixed.
John?
I'm surprised an insurance company hadn't caught that kind of stuff. You know, they usually go around town looking for fire hazards. And so I guess we're lucky there. And then also, you said, Carl, that they'll run hardwire where there's extension cords and do that.
Run some either a J-channel or a conduit, whatever needs to be done. Add some circuits if there's a capability and stuff like that, and then fix it up where you have boxes or something that is secured in conduit, not an extension cord.
Larry?
I'll sponsor an ordinance at the next meeting, give you the money that you need to go ahead and have it done.
Thank you.
What about our other county buildings? Are they being inspected by the fire department, like the clinic and the libraries and stuff? Maybe, I mean, we don't know when that was done and by whom, but they might have, I mean, we might want to get all of our buildings to have a look by the fire department, just if that's happening here.
A lot of the times, instead of doing the fire department, I will do it on city time during the day and stuff, because I am officer on the fire department. So a lot of times I do a lot of fire inspection myself and everything, come in and walk through, and it's a quick walk through. But then when we do see something, we do the school twice a year. Of course, that's mandatory by state. And like I said, we don't have near the problem with school now that we do it twice a year. They've got rid of a lot of their strips and stuff for their computers. And that's where you get into it. Now that we have got computers everywhere, printers and everything, they got it all at one desk, and they're putting strips in there, and they'll put 2 or 3 strips together so they can plug everything in. Dale would give a suggestion of what you need in each office, if you need to run a plug here or add a plug or something like that, whatever needs done. And that's in part of his thing. He's saying about $500 to do that. That would figure almost 3 days worth of him going through here. You don't think it'll take that long. But then also the suggestion is down there in the main electrical room downstairs, if some of this stuff like that one box can be deleted, just to disconnect it so that it is not there. Leave the wire there so if someday you do want to add it, you can come back and add that in later.
Yeah.
So the $500 just to covers the inspection itself?
He will go through, it's not me, it's an electrician coming through. He'll go through and find all the stuff, check the panels, tell if it needs, if it needs breakers, if there's bad breakers, if there's heat nut breakers, if there's burnt wires. He will look through all that stuff and give you a list of stuff that needs to be fixed. And it can also give you a cost.
Marty?
So, fire department could come through and do the inspection.
We don't do the inspection we don't go that detailed.
Okay. That's what I was saying.
Our thing is we come through and look for hazards. If we don't see no hazard, we give it a clean, He would do a more detailed inspection.
Anyone else?
Well, as a builder inspector, I know you inspect houses and places being built, but can you not inspect them yourself afterwards?
Like I said, normally that's done through the fire department. Like you said, the insurance companies, a lot of your insurance companies does that themselves. They will do that instead of involving the fire department local and stuff. With the building and everything, I'm busy enough with new construction and remodels and stuff that...
Larry?
It shall be done.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Carl.
Next item of business, Jeff Dickham, if you want to introduce your speaker, please.
My speaker, Sam Ward, he works directly as a judge in communications, and he took on a job a little over a year ago to get dispatch moved, and we're still getting bugs out of it, but he's here tonight to talk about phase 2, and so...
I found out lots of things about the P25 system since the last time I was here. A whole lot of it's incorrect. So I thought I'd just start from scratch if that's okay. I do have some pricing on what it would cost us. About 6 years ago, the Western Carroll County Ambulance District heard about the narrow banding. And they decided that at that time, if it was going to go in half again, which it will, they didn't want to be buying radios for the first responders if the radios were going to be obsolete before the end of their life. So we formed an unofficial committee, myself and Jack and Sheriff named Daniel Clapp and Randy Yates, who was chief of Eureka Springs at the time. And we investigated the radios that were available in this area, primarily Kenwood, Motorola, and Harris. Of the three, Motorola and Harris were by far, maybe not by far, but they were a better radio. And of the two, Harris, we felt like was better than Motorola, and it was definitely cheaper. So we decided on if we were going to do something like that, and if we're going to go P25, which we have to go digital, then we settled on Harris. So I don't work for Harris. I'm not pushing Harris. That's just what I thought we'd end up with. And as far as obsolete radios, we recently found out that our repeaters are no longer made. So if we start replacing our networks, our legacy systems, we're going to be replacing them with newer radios, which cost more money. In all that, I'll back up. Kenwood sent in a regional rep, Motorola sent in the regional manager for Arkansas and Tennessee, and Harris, we had a salesman. And I'll skip that. There's a frequency spectrum issue, and I think it was stated during the last meeting that some people have had no problems with their radios. Well, last week, the deputies couldn't get to dispatch, police on the street couldn't get to dispatch, and it was all because of radio frequency interference. And that's only going to get worse. VHF spectrum is still overflowing, and it is a nightmare. As the Northwest Arkansas corridor grows, there's going to be more and more of a demand of that spectrum. And we were told about 4 years ago that there was no more there were no more frequencies left in the 7,800 megahertz frequency spectrum, but that was by Motorola. They said we got them all. Well, they didn't quite get them all, but they will eventually. Which brings us to the narrow banding. Originally, the FCC was going to go to a 6 1/4 band. The manufacturers weren't sure they could make reliable radios at that point, so they lobbied against it. The end users, us, complained about not personally, but complained about the price. So they did an interim, and the interim was the 12 1/2. They tabled the 6 1/4 band mandate. Our consultant is a technical chair of Frequency Allocation Committee in Oklahoma. He figures it'll be a couple of years, between now and 2 years, before they come in with absolute, you got to do it. They'll probably give us several years to do it. Once it's done, once they mandated it, all of the radio licenses for the 12 1/2 band will become null and void. Chances of getting caught aren't great, but there's a $10,000 fine for every transmission on an illegal frequency. If we don't get the frequencies we need, then if that spectrum is full, and what happens, FCC says, okay, these are the frequencies that are available in this spectrum. If we don't get one, and then we decide that we're going to go to 7,800 megahertz, then what we have to do is ask somebody that has the license, preferably far away, if we can use their frequency. And a lot of times they'll say yes, with the caveat, if you interfere with our transmissions, you've got to get off the frequency. You can do it with lowering the effective power, or lowering the antenna, or putting directional antennas, but whatever we do, it'll decrease our coverage. So, I don't know what to say. All this started some time ago, and I guess that's about it. As far as prices go, we got prices from 2 East Coast banks. One bank for a 10-year, in essence, payout, it's $591,000 a year. Another bank is $588,000 a year, or $588,062.56. It's a lot of money, but it's if we can't afford it now, we're sure not going to be able to afford it later when it goes up half again. And I'm kind of concerned. You don't see very many police officers running around here in 15-year-old cars with hundreds of thousands of miles on them that have never been serviced. But that's what our radio system is. Just like, I forget if it was Monday or Tuesday, anyway, last week, when the deputies and the police officers couldn't get to dispatch, that could be a life and death situation. And it is a big deal, and it's only going to get worse. They don't make our equipment anymore. We're trying to find some on eBay, and I think we found one repeater in the last 9 months, and I think we're going to buy it just because you can't get any more. One of the things that was asked was grants. When we started looking at this 6 years ago, I was told, well, you should have started 4 to 5 years ago. We had plenty of money. Now we don't have as much money because a lot of people are getting on board. I don't see them putting any more money out there. They may. I looked at grants. There's a huge book that the government puts out with all the grants in it, and I couldn't find any for the infrastructure. I've got other people looking, and we may find out something, in the next few weeks, but if it's like it was several years ago, I wouldn't hold my breath. So, I don't know. Any questions?
Questions? Roger?
There's not any way that we go through the political realm and check with them, see if we can get some government funding, if they mandate this, they want to have to give you some route to be able to do it, or you can't, and they're not going to let it go out without this, so there's there's gotta be some route, they're gonna be able to put some money out to get this money that they mandated.
Well, I was told that, I think it's FEMA gives the state so much money, but it all goes to ADM, and it's not supposed to be sole sourced, but most of it ends up in Motorola's pockets. I talked to 2 or 3 people, and this was back when I was involved in all this stuff before, and there's just no way of getting it. I talked to some of the state people, and they said, how much do you need? And, you know, I told them, and they almost died laughing. I'm exaggerating. They were polite, but, you know, they said they don't have the money. I have talked recently to the state senators, the federal senators, and my representative, who is Womack, over where I live, and they say there's no help.
True.
I'm on the second, Roger here, and usually when there's a mandate, there's federal money, correct?
It all went out 10 years ago.
But still, nobody can tell us when this is gonna be mandated, right?
That was the best guess. And this is from the chairman of the technical committee of a frequency allocation agency. And his best guess is from now to 2 years. He thinks it'll probably be closer to 2 years.
Larry.
Well, I'm not gonna fix you. So, and then
Larry's Karen, you can wait. Larry.
well, I was just gonna say, I think we need to pursue this and see what we can find, but there is unfunded mandates that have been around for years.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a time last week when the departments couldn't reach dispatch?
Yes.
Do you know when that was? Or does anybody know when that was?
I can look it up. I got a text from the supervisor, and 10 minutes later, I got a text from the sheriff.
Friday. We were having issues Thursday and Friday
Morning?
Yes, when they were coming.
Wednesdays, when,
Okay.
And this is something that's happened before?
yeah, and it's gonna get worse.
Recently?
You can,
Larry.
But it was interference, the reason, I mean, I just want to make sure on what the reason was, that they couldn't get through, if it was interference on the radio or...
there's RFI, radio frequency interference, and the VHF spectrum is full to overflowing, and you know, some people come in from Bakersfield, some people come in from Kansas City, they come in from different places. We've gotten harmonics, we've run a test for the harmonics. If everyone was abiding by their license, and it's kind of like, you know, we're Carroll County, we ain't got to call them no license. The biggest culprit was Carroll County Roads, but it's not them, because we got on the Carroll County Roads frequency when we had the harmonics, and nobody was transmitting. So eventually, you know, we might can find some of it, and we can start putting filters on it. They're about $1,600 a piece, and see if we can filter that out.
Chuck.
Kind of follow up what you're talking about. Right now, there's a parish in Louisiana that's got a lawsuit filed against the federal government because of this exact thing. And a lot of people are sitting back watching, because everybody agrees with you. If they're going to mandate it, they should. But you think of how many communities there is throughout the United States and basically in Arkansas itself that's facing this problem. Remember, I come to the Quorum Court about 4 or 5 years ago, and we talked about this was coming. Now, when we went narrowbanding, we went from 25 to 1250, you know, on narrowbanding. It went on for probably 4 years after they said they were going to mandate it before they really cracked down. At that time, they shut down our licenses. You could not renew a license until you went narrowband then. So I'm thinking that's going to happen here again. But, you know, it's always been a problem. You know, we all, old timers call it skip, you know. But you can sit there and listen to radio, and you can hear California talking sometimes, and it bounces in here unless you got the correct filters. And another thing, I went through is anybody that applies for, say, Hollow Down was 155 point something other, well, you know, if somebody's close to that, they're supposed to get an approval from us that's saying that if they mess with us, they've got to fix it. Well, it don't always happen.
No, but,
Well, if we get all the new equipment, if we still have the interference, if we've got people that don't play by the rules,
yeah, but we have an option there. If we've got the equipment, and we've got it first, then if we experience interference, then we can turn that into the FCC. We are still trying to get our licenses straightened out right now. There's only one thing I can think of that's holding us up. Every time we apply to straighten out a license, it costs us, so we're trying to do it all at once. And as far as the government providing money, SafeCom and FEMA are pushing for the 6 1/4, as well as the radio manufacturers, because they've got good radios now, and they're saying, okay, let's do it. We've got the commercial sector jonesing for spectrum, and it's only going to get worse. And that's something that really concerns me about waiting until, you know, they drop the hammer and go, well, okay, we're going to get in line with everybody else. And anyway.
John?
How long does it take to do the project if we?
2 years.
How long?
2 years. As far as the project goes, there are milestones, and we don't have to pony up all the money to begin with. You know, when we sign the contract, there's a milestone of so much. When they start manufacturing the equipment, that is negotiable. And I think I can cry poor mouth for the county for this year and get the first one knocked down some, so we don't necessarily have to go out for the entire amount if we can manage to make some of these initial payments.
Correct.
have we talked to the cities about this? Are they gonna have to switch over? And have we talked to them about how much it's gonna cost them?
A-Winds radios, which most of the city cars have A-Winds, will work on this.
That's not correct. Not A-Win. So have we talked to the cities about it?
I've talked to the police chiefs.
What kind of feedback have you got?
They don't want to spend the money.
Matt? Chuck?
Well, I think if I heard you correctly, Sam, there's no way we can really phase into this. Basically, once we get on this path, it's all or nothing, right? They're gonna force us to go in to this new digital world with our P25. Now, the P25, if I remember correctly, is capable of downward compatibility with our old radios.
Well, it already is.
Even though the mandate is there, could we still operate our old radios for some period of time?
Yeah. Our dispatch is P25, and it is backwards compatible to the VHF system.
So will that give us a longer window, so to speak? We can phase it?
It will give the people that have the VHF radios that don't want to jump into it to begin with all at once, it'll give them longer. But the thing is, when we're buying infrastructure, we can get the radios for about 50% off. Other than that, we're looking at currently at 30% off. There's a 20% difference. And we'll have about 3 years from when we sign the contract to do that. Meanwhile, the legacy system is ill.
You know, when we first started this, that's the reason, because we knew some of the departments are not gonna be able to come up with money as quick as others. That's why we set the dispatch up where they can operate either on the UHF, or they can go ahead and go to digital either one back and forth. But the thing about it is, we're gonna have to get started on the others, and I'd like to make a suggestion, I don't know, because it's gonna take some brainstorming to get this thing done. Is get some of the players involved in this thing, like the police chiefs, the sheriff, some of the fire chiefs, and get together and brainstorm this thing and come up with some ideas, because we gotta do it. We just gotta figure out how we're gonna do it.
Larry?
Well, that was my question, is, are we gonna go out and do this for dispatch, and then part of the cities not do it with their radios, and part of the fire departments not do it with theirs? Or is this price you're talking about, we're gonna set everybody up?
Well, this price is for the infrastructure, the network, the towers, and for the radios in the sheriff's department. As far as the cities are concerned, they can use their current radios until the 6 1/4 band mandate comes down and the time expires, and then they don't have a choice. As far as the P25 is a trunking system. The P25 is the only thing we can get help on. I said at the last meeting, the Aid to Firefighters grant, it's a FEMA grant, and that should take care of most of the fire departments. So in one respect, we have two issues. The county has the towers and they have the repeaters, but what the individual police departments and the individual fire departments do is up to them. One thing that, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but one thing we did is, for the Aid to Firefighters grant, we did both a regional grant and an individual fire department grant. And if both of them were to come through, and it's been 4 or 5 years, we haven't been turned down yet, if both the grants came through, then we would have to ask for, I don't know what the term is, a variance, so that everybody gets the radios from one of the grants, for instance, and maybe we can repurpose the other part of the grant for some of the infrastructure. I don't know, we haven't got it yet.
One thing is, the money we're talking about is getting our towers and the meters set up for dispatch out. We had an agreement with Harris when we started this whole thing, a buyback plan. I'm hoping they're gonna honor this, that they will buy back our old analog type radios and let us have a trade-in, take them as trade-in, on the P25s when we get that point. And another thing, the P25 is just similar to the A-Winds, only better, from what I understand. I know some of y'all worked off the A-Winds. The A-Winds work pretty good. The P25 is supposed to be better, and what I'm understanding, the A-Winds are starting to phase out, so I don't know.
Well, A-Winds is P25, and it's phase 1. And the government is mandating they split their frequency for phase 2. Now, Harris radios will work phase 1 or phase 2 without any additional equipment. Motorola has to put in additional equipment or something. I don't know. That's Motorola's business. It's not mine.
Mr. Hicks?
I don't want to, kind of copy what Jack says on the bill, but I would feel more comfortable if we did get the chiefs and the mayors involved, since we're asking them to spend this much money, and get their opinions on it. For sure.
Don?
Sam, I appreciate everything you're doing, about while we figure this out, but, what I was thinking, you were talking earlier about some of the temporary fixes, that sounds like just wasted money that ain't gonna last very long, the temporary's not gonna last very long, so I think that would not be a very good idea for us to do the temporary stuff.
Well, that's what we thought back with the WCCAD and the unofficial radio committee. It's just, you can fill up a well with $100 bills, but why?
Ms. Farrell?
I'm just trying to make sure I understand correctly. So the county's responsible for the infrastructure, but the police departments and the fire departments in the cities will be using the infrastructure that the county pays for and sets up? Is that?
They currently are.
Is that how it's done in other counties?
I don't know.
Is that something, we need to maybe look into, like, what is their share of responsibility in this and whether or not? Something to look into, maybe.
Yeah.
I've worked with Benton and Wharton County both years back in search and rescue, and that's why they have a central dispatch system. And their towers, and the smaller departments are tagging off those repeater towers.
And they're not paying for it or getting involved in
In Benton County, no. In fact, there was a big article in the paper because Benton County, the small fire departments in Benton County were fussing about Benton County's going P25, and I think Bentonville is going P25. Since they're not sharing the spectrum, that's more of the frequencies. But the problem was these smaller entities, don't have the money or feel like they don't have the money, and that's why 10 years ago, that's why we went out for a firefighter grant, because we didn't think they had the money, and the people that did the grant felt like because we have installed I don't know if you want to make it analogous to a car, we got the frame, so we need to put in the motor and the body. But we've already spent money on the frame, if you will, dispatch, and so they felt like FEMA would be more inclined to find the money for us than if we just go, we just want a bunch of P25 radios.
Anyone else? Thank you, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Next is old business, and we have none. Next item is new business. Number 8, John, would you read that, please?
Yes, sir. A resolution approving the appointment of Diana Sturts as a board member to the Carroll County Library Department Board of Trustees. Whereas the Green Forest Library Board has recommended Diana Sturts to the board, and the Quorum Court desires to approve the appointment as required by law. Now therefore, it is resolved that Quorum Court of Carroll County, State of Arkansas. Section 1, the Carroll County Quorum Court hereby approves the appointment of Diana Sturts to represent the Green Forest Library Board on the Carroll County Library Department Board of Trustees. The Quorum Court approves the appointment of Diana Sturts for a 5-year term to expire in December 2024. So moved.
Chuck, second. Any discussion?
She has been on the board, and so her term ran out, and there's nobody volunteered to take that spot, so she's willing to do it again.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrell?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Matt? Yes. Thank you, sorry. J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
J.P. Howerton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item of business is a resolution under B. Matt Phillips, would you read that, please?
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Carroll, State of Arkansas, resolution entitled, a resolution confirming the appointment of Chris Trax to the Carroll County Ambulance District Commissioner. Whereas the county judge has appointed Chris Trax as Eastern Carroll County Ambulance District Commissioner for a 3-year term. Now therefore, be resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Carroll, State of Arkansas, the appointment of Chris Trax to the Eastern Carroll County Ambulance District Board of Commissioners for a 3-year term is hereby confirmed.
I'll second. Don, second. Any discussion? John?
Who's in replacement?
The lady we appointed like 2 months ago, as soon as we appointed her, she stepped down. So they come in and ask to even take her.
July Greenfield.
Yes. Thank you.
Ms. Brown? Yes, ma'am.
Can you just tell me a little bit about this individual who's?
He's been the fire chief at Green Forest for several years.
Yeah.
And I think he's he's paramedic or not.
And he's retired from
He is,
here,
yes.
fire chief, and I think he was also a first responder, and I think he makes a good addition.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrell?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Bailey?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
J.P. Howard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item of business is Resolution C. Pat Deaton, would you read that, please?
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court, Carroll County, State of Arkansas, resolution be entitled, a resolution authorizing the county judge of Carroll County to apply for a grant on behalf of the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District. Whereas the Carroll County Quorum Court has determined the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District meets eligibility requirements to apply for an Arkansas Rural Community Grant. Whereas the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District has presented plans to construct a covered sand and salt storage area. Whereas the Quorum Court of Carroll County recognizes the need for the project, concurs the importance and supports the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District in the efforts to proceed with this same at no cost to Carroll County. Whereas the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District has furnished proof that they have raised $35,000 through community cash and or in-kind donations to apply towards the project in a total match. Now therefore, be it further resolved that the Carroll County Judge of Carroll County is hereby authorized to submit an application of format request to the Arkansas Development Corporate Commission for the purpose of securing state grant funds in the amount of $15,000 to aid and assist the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District in executing the proposed project described hereon, in the county judge and or recorder or treasurer of Carroll County is further authorized to administer the grant funds for the same project. Move to adopt.
Okay, move to adopt. Chuck and Matt second. Any discussion? Okay.
This is a project the county, Holiday Island looked at in the past, and they finally decided to try to get this thing done. They need a place to store this stuff for the roads. If there's any questions, Mr. Lawrence Blood, who's the district manager, is here to ask any questions if you've got any for him.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, J.P. Dean, for getting this on the agenda. Again, I'm here to answer any questions. I think the bottom line up front is Holiday Island is very sufficient as far as providing municipal-type services. One of those services is 69 miles of road. And thus far, we've had kind of a hole in our response as far as snow and ice conditions go. We have the ability to lay down chat, and we have the ability to lay down liquid calcium chloride, but the problem is we can't do them at the same time. So it doubles our effort. So we have a choice, either we put down traction material or we put down anti-icing chemicals. With the storage shed and being able to do a sand-salt mixture, we can put down traction material at the same time we put down anti-icing substances. So this will be a huge benefit to us. Especially seeing how we only have 4 people in our roads department, and we have 70 miles of road to take care of. And if you're familiar with Holiday Island, I'm sure most of you are, with that mountainous, hilly terrain, you don't want to be messing around out on the icy roads. So the biggest benefit, we're not seeking any kind of financial assistance from the county. We've identified all the local match and then some. The Rural Community Grant is a 50-50 match with a maximum state contribution of $15,000. The entire project is $63,000. So we are far exceeding the local match requirement. So,
any questions, Larry?
I think it's a good project that will help Carroll County people at no cost to Carroll County.
Anyone else? Ms. Farrell?
I just have a question out of curiosity. When you said anti-icing chemicals, what are you talking about? What kind of chemicals do you use?
Right now we use calcium chloride as our liquid anti-icing. And what you can do is you can anti-ice or you can de-ice. It's your choice. Once the frost or ice is adhered to the road, it takes 10 times the amount of chemical to break that bond. So you want to get down your anti-icing if at all possible. Unfortunately, we have a lot of rain that precedes us. But they're all classified as salts, if that's your question.
Well, it's more just curious about the chemical, the environmental impacts of whatever you?
These chemicals are typical, the county, the state, all the road departments use the same thing as what we do.
Anyone else?
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Well, not really, but it's okay, I mean, it's not gonna affect how I vote, I'm just curious, have an opportunity to talk to you about it. I don't know if it affects the environment or not, just because the state uses it or the...
Well, okay, so, to go on the extreme side, ma'am, one thing that we're doing, and the reason why this, project is so expensive is because we're putting down concrete pads and retaining bunkers around it, to mitigate any, contact with rain or snow that would cause a salty runoff. And, you know, with that, you prevent the runoff from going vertically into the ground or running off downhill. And we've picked a site strategically located for that, to where we can manage all the runoff, and the only impact of the environment is what we're actually putting on the road, so.
Any more questions? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrell?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Matt? Yes. J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
And J.P. Howard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item of business is under D. Would you read that, Ms. Connie, please?
An ordinance approving levying and amending ordinance 2018-43, county municipal and school tax millage for the year 2018. The assessment for the Bluffs at Jackson Ridge Subordinate Service District for the year 2019.
Move to approve.
Chuck moved to adopt. Larry second. Any discussion? Chuck?
The Bluffs is a new subordinate service district that was incorporated last year, and, because of the different changes in position in the county, it was left off the original, ordinance. So, the funding ordinance, so that's why it's being amended.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrell?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Matt? Yes. J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
And J.P. Howard?
Yes.
Next item of business is E. Would you read that, Ms. Connie, please?
A supplemental appropriation ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-46, the 2019 budget ordinance to fund improvements at the Berryville Heritage Historical Museum Community Center room.
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who was it?
Larry.
Thank you. And who was first?
Larry Fulton.
And Ms. Stevens on so long. Any discussion?
I'd like to
Jack?
This is a project we approved last year, and, they never did get around to getting it done, so.
Okay, John?
I'd just like to make mention that, those that are donating, Thompson Concrete and Worley, Heath Worley doing the job, so that's $0.
Big deal.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrell?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Matt? Yes. J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
And J.P. Howard?
Yes.
Jim?
please.
A supplemental appropriation ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-46, the 2019 budget ordinance, and appropriating money for the Central Dispatch Capital Project.
Move to adopt.
Matt, second. Jack moved to adopt. Any discussion? Jack?
This was a fund that we set up a while back, to put money into, for the dispatch to be moved and to get updates and this was money that was left in that fund last year. I would just like to move it into this fund next year, because there's some training, there's some software updates. I think there's a little bit of work on the tower to be done. This just gives them more money to try to get these little bugs worked out that we can, while we're preparing for the big thing.
Anyone else? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrow?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Mack? Yes. J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
And J.P. Howerton.
Yes.
Okay.
Next item of business is under G. Ms. Connie, would you read that, please?
A supplemental appropriation ordinance amending ordinance 2018-43, the 2019 budget ordinance, and appropriating funds for the courthouse east repairs.
Move to adopt.
Chuck moved to adopt. Jack, second. Any discussion? Chuck?
During our budget committee meetings, latter part of last year, we agreed to move some money into that fund, to help carry the work, and as far as leveling out the courthouse room, soffits, bedding, et cetera, so this is just formalizing that request, moving that money into an account for, can be used.
Any more discussion? Larry?
Now, is this money that's done been spent for renovating this room, or just going into a fund to have for the courthouse fund?
Correct, this is in the maintenance fund, yeah.
Okay. Can money out of this be used for the project we were talking earlier about, all the electrical problems?
Yeah.
So we gotta have money in it that can be used.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrow?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Mack? Yes. J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
And J.P. Howerton.
Yes.
Next item of business is under H. Could you read that, Ms. Connie, please?
Yes. An ordinance appropriating funds to the Carroll County Airport as a reimbursement for funds spent to repair storm damage.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Who's second?
Sorry,
Marty, second. Any discussion? Jack?
Okay, this was, the storm damage out there tore some metal off of some of the hangers and stuff, so it was pretty quick to get it back on there to protect planes and stuff that's inside. The insurance company come out and appraised the damage on it, and, the manager out there talked to the judge, and called and talked to me, and we go ahead and advance it, just give them permission to pay money out of their account. If they get reimbursed, when we get the check from the insurance, we did get the check back from the insurance company. And so we're just moving, paying them back the money they already spent, because they can expedite, getting that job done out there, so we get any more weather damage inside the hangars.
Anyone else?
Is the job done already? Okay.
Anyone else? Ms. Kelly?
Quick question about the airport. Somewhere in here I saw a shower installation. Am I losing it?
No, they,
What's that for? Just been wondering your shower.
they, got some bids to add a shower, but they
scrap that.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton,
Yes.
J.P. Olson,
Yes.
J.P. Farrell,
Yes.
J.P. Johnson,
Yes.
J.P. Phillips,
Yes.
J.P. Hicks,
Yes.
J.P. Mack, J.P. McNeely,
Yes.
J.P. Hall,
Yes.
J.P. Swafford,
Yes.
and J.P. Howerton.
Yes.
Next item of business is I. Would you read that, Ms. Connie, please?
I will. An ordinance amending ordinance 2018-43, the 2019 budget ordinance to reflect salary changes to the Department of the Sheriff.
Move to adopt.
Chuck, second. Any questions, Jack?
I apologize for all the confusion and extra paperwork in here, and, this is all our scratch pads, and the county's worked very hard mediating between us and the sheriff's office on the changes in salaries. End result is we approved $744,000 to go towards this section of the sheriff's department, go towards the sergeant, for raises. The sheriff worked with Con and realigned some stuff, moved some people around, and dropped it down to $721,000, so we're saving money on this. The sheriff's idea of running his administration is different from some of the sheriffs in the past, putting more emphasis on investigative and supervisor on the upper end. He's gonna give it a try, and, I figure we can try to work with him where we can and pass this, so. At the same time, also, we did get the deputies back up to a more comfortable salary than what we've been trying to do for a couple of years, so.
Any more discussion? So, Alan?
Sorry, I was just noticing that the major is getting more money than the sheriff, I guess everybody says.
That was happening.
Two departments,
yeah.
remember?
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton,
Yes.
J.P. Olson,
Yes.
J.P. Farrell,
Yes.
J.P. Johnson,
Yes.
J.P. Phillips,
Yes.
J.P. Hicks,
Yes.
J.P. Mack, J.P. McNeely,
Yes.
J.P. Hall,
Yes.
J.P. Swafford,
Yes.
and J.P. Howerton.
Yes.
Next item of business is J. Would you read that, Ms. Connie, please?
An ordinance amending ordinance 2018-43, the 2019 budget ordinance to reflect salary changes to the Department of the County Detention Facility Fund.
Move to adopt.
All three.
Matt, second. Jack moved to adopt. Any discussion?
Yes.
Larry?
First of all, I think we have grown a lot of positions in the detention center to what it was just a few short years ago, but my question is on the unused positions. Have we appropriated $48,000 that's just set aside for comp time? That's what it says here on the bottom of the page. I mean, that's saying, go ahead and build your comp time, and take it. Now, I know you can't force law enforcement to take it at a certain time frame. But, I mean, that's giving the go-ahead to build your comp time. Or the way I'm reading it, it does. Now, hopefully I'm reading it wrong.
Nope.
John?
Nope.
So what's the alternative?
Take it. There's 30 positions in the detention center now. It's been 5 years ago or so. I'm just using a time frame when I say when Griggs was there and he was operating the detention center on 23 and a half people. And we've got 30 in it now. So
John?
So you're saying there's no reason they can't keep up on the comp time, we don't need to have that money sitting there for it?
Yeah. Now, I do understand that a lot of times you have positions that are filled in the detention center. And you have to have people work extra hours or whatever. But there's a lot of open positions here. I mean, there are 5 open positions that there's nobody in, and there's 2 unused positions, not used, set aside for comp time.
Anyone else? Ms. Sterling?
I'd just like to say, I found this really, really confusing, and Connie was trying to explain some of it to me, before the meeting today. I understood it a little better, but it just seems there's a lot of question marks all over the place. And I wasn't at the budget committee, so I don't know if y'all felt more satisfied in that, in your decisions there, if you want to explain a little bit better, or...
Comp time confuses me too, but...
Larry?
Well, your January report for comp time shows the detention center occurred 204 hours of comp time for January. And it took 31 hours. Now, that's just the detention center.
Ms. Farrell?
Well, I'm just wondering, would it be, maybe advisable to take a little closer look at this and clarify some things before we vote on it, or is that gonna cause any kind of problems for people getting paid?
Craig?
Since none of us here know exactly what it is there anybody that wants to speak on behalf of it and kind of, fill everybody in before it's taken away?
Sure.
Listen, I want Gary Grant to address this issue. He understands more about the detention center than anybody I know.
Okay. Come up here where you hear you, please.
The state requires us to have a minimum of 4 on per shift to run the jail. That does not account for any transports to the courthouse. That does not count for any transports to Arkansas Department of Corrections. It does not count for any transports to other agencies for extradition inside this state or outside of this state, okay? So if I have 6, 7, 8 people on a particular shift, now you have to also count in for days off, vacation, sick, all these other things. Take all those things off to the side. When you have all this other, if I drop below that 4, let's say I have 6, 7, 8 people on, but I have court in two different, because we're split districts, I might have court in 2 different courts. I might have all these extraditions going on. The moment we fall below that 4, that state standard for our particular, but what they say our detention has to have, you have to call somebody in. When we call somebody in and have them work that shift, compensatory time says I have to give them above after we reach 6 hours, we have to give them time and a half. If you budget strictly for the people that you have, when you have vacation, sick, not enough people to go to all these extraditions, and that compensatory time is paid at time and a half, that's not the straight time that you already have, okay? So if you don't put that in there, at the end of the year, when it comes time when you've reached your budget limit, we will be coming to the Quorum Court and saying, there is not enough money to pay for this. And because you have, I think you correctly saw that, we don't have all of our positions even filled, which is even more of a burden on the jail itself to bring these people in and again pay them time and a half for that compensatory time. It builds up quite quickly. I can tell you my first year when I was in charge of the jail as the administrator, the jail administrator going had over 2,400 hours of compensatory time. To answer your question, I thought that was crazy. It was like there was this go ahead and just pad your compensatory time. When I took over, I said, guys, there'll be no more. If you can't use it as fast as you get it, as best as we can, I'm going to take remedial control over it. And I did. I think the first year, we ended up paying out, don't quote me, but it was 5 to 6, maybe 700 hours, 3 times less than we did under the previous administration. And I think we're only sitting at 100 and some odd hours for this year right now. It is up to the supervisors, and I held their feet to the fire, held those supervisors' feet to the fire to make sure that we are not, padding our comp time, because it's not a bank. But again, if you don't have that money set aside in your budget to start your fiscal year, there is no way. No one has a crystal ball. I can't tell you how much it's going to be. But any money that's not used is good for the county. But if it's not there, if it's not ready to be used, we're going to find ourselves in a position where we're holding our hand out saying, we need more money.
Well, one part that I do want to make clear since I brought it up, there's a separate area for vacation and holidays. The one I was talking about was 204 hours in the month of January.
Absolutely.
Strictly comp time.
And when you're
right against this paper.
No,
Go ahead.
And you're correct. Here's the deal. If I'm down on my people and I can't meet the state standard for 4, but somebody puts in their holiday time or their vacation time, we're going to pay them that. But I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, because I can't pay them straight time. When I call somebody else in to cover that shift, I'm going to have to pay them time and a half. So it's not straight time for straight time. That would be, therein lies the discrepancy.
I just, when we did the budget, we cut every other office bare minimums that come to us when you gotta have one. So we've got 2 positions set aside, $24,000 apiece. That's our patio, in case they need it. And I'll finish it. The other part of it is, when you've got padding built in to pay for the comp time, it's not comp time. If you're planning on paying it to start with. Comp time is when you take time off for the overtime that you've worked. If you've got money set aside and planning on paying it to start with, it needs another.
Craig?
Guys, I was satisfied with his answer, and nobody at this table knows how to run that department better than they do. That's my comment.
Kelly?
The position is open, are you interviewing for, or are you gonna fill those?
We're constantly interviewing for those people. It is a constant revolving issue.
Anyone
I
else?
imagine it will be that way for a time.
Anyone else? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton,
Yeah.
J.P. Olson, J.P. Farrow,
Yes.
J.P. Johnson,
Yes.
J.P. Phillips,
Yes.
J.P. Hicks,
Yes.
J.P. Mack, yes. J.P. McNeely,
Yes.
J.P. Hall,
Yes.
J.P. Swafford,
No.
and J.P. Howerton.
Yes.
Next item of business is under K. Ms. Conley, would you read that, please?
A supplemental appropriation amending ordinance 2018-43, the 2019 budget ordinance, to reflect salary changes and to appropriate additional funds for the Department of 911 Services.
Move it up.
Got moved to adopt, Chuck second. Any discussion? Jack?
This is the same thing as the other 2. We made some adjustments, get them lined up, the math was right, And let me say this to start with, this has been the most confusing, and I've been sitting on this board for 6 years. And this is the hardest time I've ever dealt with getting this done. And I'm hoping it never happens again, because I'm back on board again this year. But there's no sense in us getting 3 and 4 versions of what we need to do coming out of the department. And I hope to heck, and I said heck this time, that this never happens again, because it can't be, it shouldn't be this tough.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
J.P. Deaton?
Yes.
J.P. Olson?
Yes.
J.P. Farrell?
Yes.
J.P. Johnson?
Yes.
J.P. Phillips?
Yes.
J.P. Hicks?
Yes.
J.P. Mack?
Yes.
J.P. McNeely?
Yes.
J.P. Hall?
Yes.
J.P. Swafford?
Yes.
And J.P. Howerton.
Yes.
Next item of business is JP comments and agenda items. Yep.
I want to say one thing, is I've gotten some more, bids and estimates, guttering and roofing and things like that, so the, Building and Properties Committee, I'm looking at calling a meeting next week with Judge, and we'll talk about those estimates.
Roger.
I'm with him on that comp time. Comp time is not, you don't pay for comp time.
We're not talking about, this is an agenda item.
Well, I just wondered if they can change that. But it's the normal list.
Jack?
Just one thing, I mean, we'll be calling a budget meeting next week sometime too, but between now and then, all these committees that's been formed, if you think you're gonna be having meetings, because we didn't give the JPs a raise, what we did was accommodate some money to the committees that's meeting several times. So if you think you have some meetings you may be doing in your group, I do know that Connie needs to get with the personnel committee, because there's an issue with the employee handbook. But if you'll get with me or any of the budget committee meetings, let us know how many dates you think you may be doing it, because I'll be bringing an ordinance next month, because there again, the ball got dropped in another area. There's not enough in the Quorum Court's budget to post all these ordinances this year. There was very little bit of money put in there, and it cost quite a bit to do this, and so we'll be putting more money in there for that, and I need to put money in there in anticipation of some budget meetings, plus the special meeting we had last month. So if you'll get with us and give us an idea, then I'll have an expert for that next month.
John?
In our packet this month, there's a report from the county airport commission meetings. If anybody's got any questions about any of that, I've been sitting in on those, but I'll be able to answer any of those.
Anyone else? Larry?
We were gonna have let the press know, have a short, personnel committee meeting after this meeting to come up with a couple of people to help us be on the grievance committee. You have to have 5. I was talking to the judge here before the meeting, and the judge would very much like to see the whole court in the grievance committee. And I think that would tickle the personnel committee to death if it was.
I'm in total agreement with that.
I'm in total agreement with that, and instead of, having just 5, I do not think that it had been mentioned about having, some of the things or whatever. I think that pits department heads against each other if things went wrong. And I think it's the Quorum Court's duty to take care of the grievance anyway. There very seldom ever is a grievance hearing. It's not often enough that it's going to inconvenience anybody much. So I'm in favor of that.
Marty?
Well, in the grievance committee, all that would amount to is slowing down the process, because all the grievance committee would do was refer it to Quorum Court. Pretty much.
And
Larry?
I might mention one other thing, that, every employee has been given a handbook, or a version of the handbook, whether it be by email or whatever, and they've all signed that they've read it. And Carroll County is an at-will employee. Any employee can be let go at any time, not for any reason for no reason. So, you know, there's not a lot of grievance out there, unless it's a discrimination of some sort or whatever, the county's not well informed. And it says, in the handbook, I think it's on page 8 or 9, that any employee can be let go at any time without reason. So,
Ms. Farrell?
My understanding was that the reason why we haven't set up the grievance committee is because the new handbook kind of creates the process for a complaint. So just when you, I don't know if that, I'm pretty sure that's accurate because I was at a committee hearing, meeting last year where that was talked about. But, so when you said there aren't very many grievances, it might have been because we didn't even have a system in place, and that might change. But as far as the at-will goes, like you said, I mean, a person could say, I'm firing you and I don't want to give you a reason, but then again, it could be clear that they were fired for a particular reason, and that's where the grievance would come in. I'm fine with it being the whole group. My whole concern all along has been that we're not a diverse quorum court, and so the idea of bringing in someone, like if we have an employee who's Latino, and there's nobody on this court that's Latino, or, you know, there's only 2 women, there, you know, if somebody's having a grievance, it's more likely because they're from some marginalized community in general. So I don't know if there's any way to change that. If, like, that was the only reason why I brought up bringing in people from different departments or something where we could have a more diverse.
Chuck?
What you're talking about, Harry, I think is when we get into state and federal law, and that's completely what we're talking about. Yes, that is against the law to discriminate against anybody because of sex, race, religion, whatever. And that's a completely different thing. That's a legal matter. I think what we're talking about here in the grievance committee is just we had one last year. Was it last year? And that had to do with something with conduct between employees, and so, but it wasn't in that respect. So, in respect to what you're saying, I think that goes up to a completely different level than our grievance committee.
Does not the employee handbook say something about not being able to be discriminated against?
Well, that's something that you.
But not just on the county. I mean, in our county. Because that was updated, I remember, Vermont changed some of the wording in that, so that's not just a state thing.
Larry?
Well, I'm pretty sure I stated this at the last meeting, that if you have a committee, if they don't give, that has a grievance, the outcome that they want, they can still ask for the full quorum court anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying out what you're talking, I would think, and I'm pretty sure of this, that the quorum court we've got now could come to a meeting open-minded enough to deal with anything like that. Because now, having to come in there, now would hopefully would not.
Ms. Kelly?
I agree with you, I think that's what the people voted us for. I mean,
Right.
the people that voted for us, that's why they voted for us, because they respect our opinion and they trust that we're gonna do what's the right thing, so.
Don?
Agree also with you guys here, and I would, you know, almost bet that me being a white guy, that could not listen to a grievance of a Hispanic person with Chinese parents, homosexual, I would listen to the word that thought it was and decide on that person, not his skin color, race, or anything like that.
Yeah, just to respond to that, you know, if you've never experienced something yourself, sometimes it's hard to understand a different perspective. So it's not about it, you know, like that you would come into it biased, that you just might not have the full perspective of what it's like to be a woman harassed, for example. But, you know, I'm not trying to accuse that anybody in here would come in biased, it's just that you don't have the full spectrum of experience and perspective, that's all.
Marty?
Nobody can have full experience of anybody else.
That's why it would be great to have a diverse
I don't know what it's like to be you don't know what it's like to be me.
Yeah, and
You have no point. I mean, we're here because people elected us. And I think anybody in here is open-minded to listen to what they've got to say. You know? Pretty simple.
Yeah, I agree, I just, for example, a person with disabilities has had experiences I don't know anything about, and you might have a perspective that I wouldn't quite see.
Right.
You know, and that's why it just was.
But you still listen.
Right.
I had to stay with an open mind with you.
Absolutely.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.